Hey, welcome to the Harry Man Show number 24. We have a really great guest, killer drummer. His name is Steven Maestro Robison. Did I say your middle name right there? Maestro or Maestro?
Maestro. Yes,
Maestro.
sir.
I apologize there. Well, Steven has played with countless high-end acts. He's playing with Selena Gomez, Mr. TalkBox, and Liam Payne. How you doing, Steven?
I'm doing great. Very blessed, man. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and just a kind of a backstory of how I found you on social media. You did a collab video with Billy Ashbaugh, and that was a wonderful video. I watched that countless times. How did that come about?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, that was a treat for me. Like everybody said, man, that was so good. That was really good for me. Like if anybody didn't like it or had an issue with it, it was okay because the fact that it happened was enough for me. Yeah, man. Billy has been one of my favorites for years and years and years. Even in that video, I kind of go into the little story about how I, kind of stumbled upon his playing as a little boy, really.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, honestly, man, it was literally just, Billy and I are Facebook friends, and we have a couple mutual friends, including Mr. Talkbox, because Mr. Talkbox, before he became a full-fledged artist himself, he was playing keys in sync with Billy.
I didn't know that. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, little fun fact for you. But so Billy and I were, we were kind of connected that way. But I just messaged him, man. I messaged him on Facebook, and I said, "Hey, dude, I have this idea. I think it'd be really cool. You don't have to do anything, out of the ordinary. Nothing that you're not already doing, because we're all doing videos and putting them out on the internet anyway. Let's do something a little more specific, just for fun and to be a big honor for me." And he was gracious enough. He wrote me right back, and we had a couple phone calls about it, and it just took off from there. It was, super easy, super simple, and a lot of fun.
Yeah, I have a similar story. I kind of grew up reading Modern Drummer magazines and saving my pennies for DVDs from Music Store. And he had a DVD you're probably mostly familiar with. It's called "Taking Care of Business," I believe. And
yes.
Yeah, I watched that thing in rotation but that was before YouTube, obviously, and all that stuff. So it was like a prize jewel when you had it. But yeah, and I messaged him and I was like, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. But he got back to me right away, and I was like, what?
You'd be surprised, man. Yeah. You'd be surprised. A lot of these guys, you would think that they are, untouchable, and they don't want to really talk to anybody. But man, a lot of these cats are super nice dudes, and that's one of the cool things about social media. Of course, there's a bunch of negative stuff about it, but one of the really cool things about it is that now everyone is, so reachable, and you can get in contact with people fairly simply, just by sending them a message. So I'm glad that he was just as cool with you as he was with me, man. Billy's the man.
Yeah, he was easy to talk to, and he was great. And it's like, as you were saying about social media, reaching out to guys like you makes it easier, and it's an honor to have someone like you on the show as well. So once again, thank you.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
All right, and then when you were telling me you grew up in California. Is that where you started playing drums, or?
Yeah. Grew up in Cali, and I started playing drums around the age of 2 or 3 is kind of when my parents, noticed that I had some rhythm and I was showing some interest in music, specifically drums. But it started in California, Los Angeles County, and I'm a church boy, born and raised. Both my parents are still in ministry, but even back then, they were very, very heavily involved in the music ministry at our local church, and that's how it all started, man. Started right there.
Yeah, and don't take it the wrong way. I could definitely hear the gospel chops in your playing. It really does stand out, though.
I don't take that the wrong way, man. And it's funny you mentioned that, because a lot of guys are now saying, don't take this the wrong way, or I don't mean any offense, but I hear the gospel chops, and I don't take any offense, man. That's part of my heritage. It's part of my upbringing. Mm-hmm. But what's so interesting, with gospel chops and that whole thing is, man, back in the day, it was just playing. Like, that was just how dudes played. It didn't even have a name until like 2006 or 2007.
Yeah,
when somebody called it gospel chops, and then they started putting videos on the internet and calling them gospel chops. But we just we call it just playing. You just playing drums.
Yeah, it's really awesome, to tell you the truth. I mean, just slamming you right on top of those toms and those cymbals on the accent points. It's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, Yeah, it's fun to play, man. I'm telling you.
All right, and then did you spend the most of your childhood in California playing with different, church acts, or did you venture out playing with the funk and R&B and stuff at that time as well?
You know what? I didn't really venture out too much in California in my earlier days. It was pretty much just church. And, we didn't even have a lot of secular music in the house or any for that matter.
Mm.
And if we did, my parents hid it very well because I never saw it. But it was, primarily gospel. And, once I started getting into junior high and high school, I started playing with, the orchestra and the jazz band and drum line and all that good stuff. So that sort of expanded my brain and my skill, if you will. But I didn't really start playing with actual acts until I was out of high school, really.
Oh, nice. You had that maturity time to kind of get your chops down. And, what was the first act you kind of played with?
Like the most notable one or just in general?
In general.
In general. Well, I mean, there were a couple bands that I did play with in high school. They just didn't really go anywhere. And I'm sure we've all been a part of those kind of bands,
oh, yeah.
Going through school. But there was a band I played in. It was called New Level, actually. NULVL. That was the spelling of the band. And we were trying to do a pop rock thing. It was me, a keyboard player, and guitar player. And we would try to, make things happen. We switched genres, throughout our journey. We went from pop rock to the singer wanted to venture off into like contemporary Christian stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't because he, was really, really into the genre. They were just trying to tackle a specific market because it was, quote unquote, easier to break into.
Mm-hmm.
So of course it didn't really work because, it wasn't legitimate. So that kind of fizzled away, and then there was a couple of other groups I kind of started playing with, but nothing really, really serious. Nothing really took off. The only good thing that came out of that band, New Level, is that I met my wife while I was playing in that band.
Oh, awesome! And there you
go. So we were high school sweethearts, and here we are now. 14 some odd years later, 3 kids, and living in Nashville, and making
awesome.
it happen.
Congratulations on that, man. That's really cool. A lot of people can't say that.
Yeah. I know, man. It's a blessing.
Yeah. And then did you go right to Nashville after LA, or did you bounce around a little bit before that?
No, man. And what's funny is my wife and I kind of joke around, and we say that we've lived so many different lives because we've been a few different places, man. So after high school, I got a scholarship to go to school, go to Berklee College of Music in Boston.
Oh, wow.
So I did that for a couple years. I did not finish at Berklee. I was there. I was actively enrolled for a year, but I lived in Boston for 2 years. And in that second year, I just kind of worked in town, played with different acts and different things like that. So then in 2009, so I graduated high school in 2007, was living in Boston from 2007 to 2009. 2009 is when we moved back to LA. And that's when my career actually started. And I was in.
Not to interrupt
you. Go ahead.
Not to interrupt you there, but what kind of programs were you doing at Berklee? Were you doing like jazz programs or everything all around?
It was sort of everything. I was a music business major with a percussion sort of focus. So they kind of throw you in a bunch of different things. I was playing jazz. I had a private instructor, so we would work on different exercises and rudiments and things like that. So it was pretty standard, to be honest. It was kind of the same education or educational experience that you would get at any other school, any other music school. So it was really great. But I think what I learned the most and what I took, away from Berklee the most, was the people I was playing with. I played in this band called called Aftershock. That's what it's called. Called Aftershock. And it's so funny because everybody, well, not everybody, but a few key members in that band have now gone on to do like incredible things. And that band was like an Earth, Wind and Fire sized band. but we were playing like mainstream R&B and like pop R&B.
Nice.
So really fun group, and that's where I really learned how to lock in with a click and drum machines and loops and things like that. That was where I really was kind of thrown into that fire, and it paid off big time. And what's really cool is a lot of those guys now are doing incredible things. Have you seen Hamilton, the film on Disney?
Parts of it, but I haven't sat down and watched the whole thing yet, to be honest with you.
Okay, it's great. I recommend it. Super great.
I will.
But there's an actress in that play. Her name is Jasmine Cephas Jones. She just won an Emmy. She's like killing the game right now. But Jasmine went to Berkeley, and she was in that band with us. She sang background vocals.
Oh, really? Nice.
Yeah.
And just a question I had for you: were you heavy into sight reading before, or did Berkeley kind of tune you up on that aspect as well?
Man, I was never the greatest reader.
Yeah.
Until I moved back to LA in 2009, and I started to build my career. Started playing around. That was when I had to like really, my job depended on me reading. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does.
Like all the times before then, I could read. And you have to be able to do, a substantial amount of reading to even get into Berkeley. So I could read, but I never really implemented it into my everyday career playing. Not until I moved back to LA and I started doing a lot of cabaret shows and, little mini musicals and, all those things that are just heavy charts. That's when I really had to buckle down and figure out what the chart was saying.
Oh, wow. So how long did you spend in LA when you moved back to 2009 there?
Yeah, so I went back 2009. I was there until 2016.
Oh, wow. Okay, 7 years.
And 7 years. But it was home, so it didn't really, it wasn't anything super crazy. But those were the years where my career really went from pretty much 0 to 100, if you will. Started really just climbing the ladder and starting to build relationships with different music directors and other players, and eventually I was starting to get the gigs that I wanted to get, which were kind of the mainstream, pop gigs.
And then what was your first one you got into as far as your mainstream gigs?
My first mainstream gig was in 2011, and that was with David Archuleta from American Idol.
Oh, really?
Yes, sir.
Nice. I'm actually friends with Wade Coda. He actually got second in American Idol, I believe. I don't know if you're familiar with the newer seasons.
Oh,
there.
yeah.
Yeah, he's a local guy here in Phoenix. Really cool guy. I was in a band with him at one time, but yeah, I have a little bit of experience with that. But yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, but yeah, how did that come about?
No, that's cool, man. I actually I got involved with that act and that tour sort of like not traditionally. David's from Utah, and he had this situation with Sony Records where he was leaving the label or he was, or they were letting him go, or they're mutually, about to just kind of, exit whatever relationship that they had. So he had a Utah-based band presently. This was in 2011. And since he was leaving, the Sony thing, they wanted to build a new band because he had a tour coming up and we were going to be going overseas. So his dad, David's dad, who's actually a great trumpet player, by the way, like brilliant. His dad really wanted to get some musicians in the band who could like actually play.
Yeah.
And I'm sure you're familiar with, with the super pop thing. Like a lot of times they get guys on the instruments who can play and they're decent, but it's more of a look than it is a sound. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah. And just the relationship between the members too is a big thing there.
Yeah, exactly. So they really weren't trying to do that again. So his dad said, let's go to LA, here's some different guys, and here's some different approaches to the music, and get some dudes who can actually, like, they play. Like, this is what they do. So his drummer at the time was Jaden Bean, who is a buddy of mine. And Jaden, since he was the current drummer, he was the one who pretty much held the auditions and reached out to different people. Now, Jaden and I had already connected at a church audition, a few months prior. So he wasn't necessarily gonna call me to audition for David, because we're both kind of around the same level as far as skill. So he ended up using, he called a bass player friend of mine named Ben Shepherd, who's probably one of the best bass players on the planet. Like, if you have a second, Google Ben Shepherd. Like, he's insane.
Is he the guy that's in Mr. TalkBox as well?
No, Ben Shepherd, he did the David gig with us, but he's more of a, I would call him more along the lines of jazz playing, straight ahead kind of stuff. Like, he's incredible.
Okay.
But no, he's out in LA. He plays with like Weckl now. Like,
okay. That's like
he's doing that.
Upper echelon stuff right there.
Yeah, and there's video. Like, if you Google Ben or even Dave Weckl, like some of his recent stuff, Ben Shepherd's playing bass, and it's like, dude, are you playing for Dave Weckl? Are you serious?
Yeah, that's crazy.
But, yeah, but that's what he wanted to do. That's where he wanted to go in his career, and he did it.
Nice.
But back in the day, back in 2011, he was just a student at Cal Arts. And he was still trying to find his way and figure out what he was doing. So Ben ended up getting a call from Jaden to audition. And Jeff Archuleta, he had these, I guess you can call them criteria, where before they give you the actual green light to show up to the room to audition, they want to see some video. And they want to, like a prerequisite, if you will. So Ben and I played in a band called Mr. Dance. It's a fusion band. And a lot of fun. Everybody got a chance to shine and play. And we played everything from rock to jazz to, all that good stuff. So Ben and I and the rest of the band members, we had just recorded and filmed like a demo, like a 5-studio demo at Cal Arts. Really cool tape, really cool footage, looks great. And it was, we filmed it for the purpose of submitting it for auditions and, promotional stuff. So when Jaden contacted Ben and said, hey, David Archuleta's looking for a new band, send me some footage, Ben was like, oh, great. Well, we just filmed this great stuff at Cal Arts. I'll send this. So he sends over the Mr. Dance footage, and the David Archuleta camp is watching it. And I'm hearing this all later. So I'm giving you the story that they told me. Right?
Yeah.
So they're watching Ben's video, and Jeff Archuleta says, oh, man, yeah, Ben sounds great, but who's this dude playing drums? Who's that? So, Jaden had to kind of reluctantly, tell them that it was me.
Oh, man.
And they said, yeah, bring him in for an audition, too. So
Nice.
Jaden called me. He's like, hey, man, they saw the tape. Why don't you just come on in and, do the audition?
Well, that's awesome.
So that was pretty much, what happened is, they had this big kind of open call on a Saturday afternoon, I think it was, and a lot of musicians showed up to audition. It was kind of an all-day thing. I played, did, the best I could, and I ended up getting a call back for the next day or the next couple of days or whatever it was, and it came down to me and Jaden again.
And just a question I was asked: how are your nerves on a day like that? Are you just mentally prepare for it and just kind of keeping the zone, or how do you? I tend not to overthink it, and this is my philosophy with any gig or any audition. If you overthink it, you'll kind of think yourself into a frenzy, and you won't perform very well. Yeah, I'm a victim of that myself.
So, yeah. I mean, and it's super easy. It's easy to get nervous, and once you really start thinking about, the level of artist that you're auditioning for and where you can potentially go with this artist and how this can change your career, of course, you're going to be like, oh my God, this is crazy.
Yeah, it's like a split-second change. You're going to change everything,
Yeah, man. So, I mean, I try to just stay really chill and have a good time, man. Just have fun, because that's what they want to see, is you having a great time and you enjoying, playing the music. So,
yeah, and that's
really what it was.
I'm sorry to interrupt you again there, but that's one thing I want to note about your videos. You always look very enthusiastic, and that's what makes it fun to watch you play. Because it's a lot of energy, and even though we're just watching videos, it makes me pumped up and inspired to get on my kit right after watching you there.
Yeah, thank you, man. I appreciate it, because this is fun. This is what we do, man. This is a lot of fun, and at the end of the day, we should be enjoying it. Before all is said and done, before you start talking about gigs and auditions and the politics that go into everything and all that stuff. Like at the end of the day, we play music because we love it, it's fun, and we have a good time.
Yeah, and you can watch some drummers, and I would never say names, but it looks like they're just punching the clock up there, and they're just counting the songs down, and and I totally wears off on everything, the audience, the band, but guys like you, it just makes you realize
That's
watching you for 30 minutes, like, oh, it's been 30 minutes or 45 minutes already. Oh wow,
Yeah, man, that's not fun. And then I actually heard I don't know if it was a quote or if I read something from Buddy Rich, but he was talking about something similar to this, and he was saying people pay money, they pay good money to come out to a show to see us perform. They don't want to come to the show and see us like not having a great time, or we're distracted because of what's happening in our own personal lives. Like that's not what they paid for.
And besides,
they're here to get away from all that stuff. So we need to give them something fun to look at.
Yeah, and then going out to see a band, you got to most people have to get a babysitter, a lift and all that. So it's just more than the money; it's time and all that stuff. So you got to make it worthwhile for everybody.
Right, absolutely. So that's my philosophy, man. That's how it all all comes together. And if the gig is meant for you, and if if all the wheels are in motion, and if God says the same, you'll be on that gig.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And then how long did you stay with that act with him?
So we did his gig for the duration of that year. So we started in April of 2011, and we went all the way till the end of December. And we did 2 tours and a bunch of spot dates, within that year. And after that, he actually went off and did a 2-year mission with the Latter-day Saints church.
Oh, nice.
Because he's Mormon. So he actually did he pulled a real big boy move, and we were super proud of him for doing this, because this is not something you see, in the mainstream industry. He actually left for 2 years to go do this mission.
Oh wow!
And that can be career suicide. Because 2 years is a lot of time, and this is even before Instagram and all the TikTok, and this was before all of that. This was we only had Facebook and Twitter. Like that was pretty much the only thing going on.
Yeah, even 3 months would be a long time, but 3 years, that's a chunk of your life. Like that's a big chance there.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like 2 years. That leaves a lot of room for people to kind of forget about you. In essence.
Mm-hmm.
But he very, very strong in his faith, and he felt called to go and do that. So once he left and did that. We all went off and did other things.
Nice. And then what was next for you down the road?
So next was Eric Hutchinson. That was 2012. And did Eric, he had a really long tour called the Moving Up, Living Down tour. And super cool experience, not as lavish as the David gig, but, it was a good experience nonetheless. And I always say, I started touring, I started backwards. A lot of guys start, they start in a minivan, or they just tour in their car, and eventually they move up to a tour bus and fancy hotels and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Mine was reversed. Like the David gig, we were staying at the Ritz-Carlton, dude. Like no joke.
Yeah, but at least
being treated overseas like kings.
Really?
Yeah, it was insane, man. It was insane. So the Eric gig wasn't as lavish. It was a Sprinter van tour, which was still cool. With David, I didn't have to lug any gear. There was always gear there. Everything was backline, like just a bigger budget production.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Eric, and with David, we were playing, arenas and stadiums overseas and things like that. With Eric, that was my first, not my first tour in the States, but that was my first, this is just going to be in the States, and it's going to be a lengthy tour.
Mm-hmm. Like a grassroots kind of feel.
Yeah, definitely. So, and I had to lug my own kit, and there was no tech and, smaller budget and things like that. But it was cool, though, man, because I played my first couple TV shows on that gig, so that was a lot of fun. And We did the Tonight Show with Jay Leno.
Oh,
He
really?
still had it.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
awesome. That's something that was huge back before YouTube. When you were on Jay Leno show, you pretty much did it.
Oh yeah, you made it. Like you officially made it. If you're doing a late night show, you did it. You did it. So, we did Leno. We did Conan. And
that's another one. Yeah,
Chicago though. He was on location.
Nice. That's something I would always dream of. But I mean, I think obviously those shows, not Jay Leno, but those shows are still around. But there's so many different channels now, and I mean, you don't have a bottleneck of like your main 2 or 3 late night shows. I used to bounce between and try to catch the musical acts all in one night.
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that.
Yeah, now you can just wake up the next morning and like pull it up. And, like, oh yeah, here it is. Here's this guy playing with that guy. But yeah, it was more. I just kind of miss that staying up late and being tired the next day kind of mentality. But that's time change with everything like that.
Sure. Yeah, man. I get that.
And when you were playing overseas, was there any notable like countries or venues that you'll never forget that were like amazing to you at the time?
Yeah, I mean, when we did the Asia tour, let me say this first. Every time I go overseas, especially to, the Asian countries, and that includes Japan and all that stuff, I'm always treated like a king, like always. And I don't know, I know they have, they respect American music and people who come from the States to entertain them. Like it's just another level, of respect. And they're already a very respectable community anyway. So they just treat you so well. So every time I go over there, it's amazing. But I would say when we went down there with David, we played in Manila, the Philippines. And that's the one that really comes to mind because that was the show where we were playing the Coliseum. Well, they called it a Coliseum. It was really an arena. I mean, I guess they just call it differently, overseas. But it was pretty much an arena, and that was the one show where you just kind of gaze off into the audience and you just say, "Wow, like we made it." Like this was all those years of practicing and dreaming and drumming on the Modern Drummer magazines and just hoping and praying that one day you get to do something and play in front of 60 some odd thousand people. You finally have made it, and that was in the Philippines, and it was incredible.
Yeah, that's. Did you have a lot of sleepless nights after playing too? Because I hear a lot of people get they can't come down for a couple hours after something like that.
Oh yeah, you're super high. Like you really are. You really are, man. And to be honest, like some of the best times were had after the show.
Really?
And yeah, because you're on such a high. And the guys that were on that tour with David, those were all like we're all homies. Ben and I, we already had played in a band together prior to the David gig, so we were already tight. We already had this camaraderie.
Yeah, so, that definitely builds a big bond there.
Yeah. So so after the show, you're just, you're vibing out with your boys. You turn on some music. You talk about, who messed up in the show. And, I heard what you did. You tried to fake it, but I know what you did. You messed up.
Yeah, that's always the fun part. And, it's just a humble experience at the end of that, too. You're like, I better watch it. They're noticing.
Yeah, dude. It's, and even then, we really have to just kind of leave things on the stage, and that's where they stayed because, now everybody has a smartphone and all these concerts are recorded, and as soon as you're done recording them, they're uploaded to YouTube and everywhere else.
Yeah.
That wasn't happening too much back then. So there's only a few little clips of that tour kind of floating around the internet. But for the most part, man, it's, it's memories.
Huh. And then one thing I want to ask you about, you just recently, a little bit about the gear you use. You just recently announced you're using a head sticks. How did that come about for you?
Yeah, man. Big shout out to Ahead and Big Bang Distribution. They are incredible products, man. But I was playing Big First. I was a Big First artist for 8 years. They actually signed me when I got the Davey gig.
Oh, nice.
And I was, very excited about that. Of course, every drummer has played a pair of Big First in their, in their span of playing.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a big honor, and I didn't have any issues with Vic First at all until about 3 years ago. Yeah, like 2.5, 3 years ago. And I was having these very, very sharp pains in my hands.
Mm-hmm.
And my hands were probably changing, and, things were just kind of, things were happening. And I wasn't really sure what to do, really.
Mm-hmm.
Try different pairs, try different, because Big First and Zildjian are now kind of partners.
Yeah.
So I had Zildjian send me a couple different models that help with shock reduction, and because I'm getting these cramps, and they're just, these cramps are cramping my style. That's really going on.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I couldn't even get through a single song without feeling some sort of pain.
Mm-hmm.
And it just wasn't working. But I remember way back in the day, when I was like, jeez, man, 11,
mm-hmm.
10, my dad bought me a pair of head drumsticks kind of as a novelty
mm-hmm.
For a birthday present. He was like, hey, man, these sticks are really cool. The guy at the store said they last forever and you won't break them, and they look really cool too.
Mm-hmm.
So, check them out. So I remembered that, and I remember that it took me 3 years to break those things. So I said, well, let me give them a shout, because I was already endorsing the Armor cases. So I was already kind of an head artist. So I just emailed my buddy Brent, who works over there at Ahead and Big Bang, and I said, man, I'm going through this pain. I know Aheads are supposed to be, shock reducers, but I'm just willing to try anything, because at this point, if the pain doesn't really stop, I'm looking at an early retirement, and that's really where my head was at. Like, I'm like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And I was man enough to admit that, and I was, I've had so many great experiences, so I was cool with just kind of hanging it up because my hands were just done. But Brent said, well, check it out. Let me send you a pair of these. Try them for 2 weeks, and you let us know if you have any more pain.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to do them for 2 weeks. Give your hands a second to get used to how these play and how they feel, because they don't behave like wood. It's a completely different kind of feel,
mm-hmm.
but they will help your hands. I guarantee it. So they sent me a pair. I still have that pair. And, within 2 weeks, I said, man, this is great. And they were just a regular stick with no grip tape, just a plain, bare stick.
Mm-hmm.
But there was such a huge improvement, with that pain. It literally went from, if I was at 90% pain, it went down to like 10, like no joke.
Oh, wow. That's a big difference.
Big difference. And I was like, wow, I can actually get through some songs now. This is pretty good.
Now, with the head sticks, do you find yourself hitting harder or softer with them, or do you feel like they project better with the cymbals, or do you feel like it's just the same for you?
It's the exact same, man.
Really?
I don't play any differently than I did with wood sticks. If anything, I play a little softer
mm-hmm.
because I don't, because they're metal and they have a little bit more power.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to smack the drums as hard as I did when I was, with the wood sticks. They're weighted and they have a little more power.
Yeah.
But for the most part, man, I play a head stick like I play a wood pair.
Nice. I actually have a pair of Joey Jordison ones. They stopped making them. I still have those, and I got those when I was a teenager. It's a very similar story to you, and I still use this on a practice pad once in a while. But yeah, I have to agree with you. I mean, they're nice. It's a different feel. But it's almost like I want to make those Joey Jordison sticks last forever. I don't know if that sounds weird, but just I've had it for 15 years now, and they're great.
Yeah, man. If you were really if you're not a super, super heavy hitter, mm-hmm. I mean, of course, depending on how much you're playing, but those sticks can last you a very, very long time.
Oh, yeah.
They really can.
And you can replace the sleeves, too, if it comes down to it, so it's not, that
bad.
Yeah. Not that bad.
Yeah, if your sleeves, if they're getting super chewed up, just get the new ones. Easy.
And then one thing we were talking about for the show, I've been watching your YouTube videos, and your drums sound amazing, by the way, and you were just telling me simply that you'd mic them through Logic. How did the relationship with Mapex come about? Because those drums sound great, too, as well.
Yeah, dude, Mapex is incredible. Yeah, incredible. I'm so thankful for them and that relationship. It's been great. I've been with Mapex for now 4 years. I believe.
Oh wow.
Yeah, this is 2020. Yeah. I got with Maypex as soon as we got on the Selena Gomez gig.
Oh nice.
That's when the Maypex thing started.
Nice.
And I was looking for, a real drum relationship. I was with another company a few years prior to Maypex, and I had a terrible experience with them.
Mm-hmm.
I won't put them on blast, but they are one of the major ones.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't, I didn't really feel like I was a part of the family, and I wasn't, trying to be another number. And that's with all my endorsements and all of my, product relationships. Like, I don't want to be just some random dude on the roster who you don't have a relationship with.
Yeah,
I refuse to do that.
Just a picture in the back of the product catalog. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like I don't know, dude. And we've all seen those dudes, and we've seen them on websites, and it's like, oh shoot, I didn't know you played them. Really, you don't talk about them. They don't talk about you. Like, what kind of relationship is this?
Yeah.
So I didn't want that. So Maypex was, the one company that really showed me that from the jump that they weren't, going to be, one of those kind of companies. And they've been great. They've been great ever since. I was playing a Saturn V kit for Selena, and I've been playing different kind of kits ever since then. But the kit that I have in the studio now is actually a Maypex Armory kit.
Oh, nice. The maple shell, right?
It's a maple, yes. It's a maple on the outside and birch on the inside.
That's what I thought. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. It is maple. But those drums just, they record so well because you have those tonal qualities of maple and birch. And they're amazing drums. That whole team at Maypex they're just awesome. And there's some really cool stuff happening with them very, very soon. So if you're not following Maypex, on the socials or, in general, like, get on board because there's some stuff.
Yeah, the one thing I have to say about Maypex, I've been collecting the Black Panther snares for a while now, and those are some of the best snares I've ever played. I have the Daisy Cutter, the Sledgehammer, I have, and a couple of the Black Chrome Black Panther. I have to go take a look at them, but yeah, some of the loudest, best cracking snares I've heard in a long time. Well, I've been playing,
Yeah, dude, hold on to that sledge. Like, hold on to that sledge, because I tried to purchase one recently, and I was like, hey, I want to get this Sledgehammer because I played it before, like on backline kits and things like that, and I always loved it. I was like, let me just go ahead and get one. And I tried to buy one, and my A&R guy was like, dude, we don't make the Sledgehammer anymore.
Oh, really? I didn't even know that.
Yeah, well, they have a whole new line of Black Panther snares, which are incredible. But a lot of the older stuff, they've stopped producing. So if you want to get a Sledgehammer, you have to buy it, kind of second or third party from another store, or, get a used one somewhere or whatever. But yeah, if you have a Sledgehammer, hold on to that mug.
Yeah.
They're not making that anymore. The new Sledgehammer is actually called the Persuader, I think.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
And it's a similar shell, but it's not. I don't think it's as deep as the Sledgehammer was. I think it's a little more shallow, but similar design, same kind of features.
And that Sledgehammer is easy to do rim shots on because it's just, I don't know if it's just the way that rim's cut, but just like that thing, I feel like you can hear it down the street no matter where you're at. You definitely aim for the floor on that one. But one thing I want to ask you is how did the Selena Gomez gig come about, and how long did you stick with that?
Yeah, Selena was that was a blessing, man. I know we're short on time.
Oh no,
there's a very long story. And then there's a shorter story.
It's completely up to you. Well, I'm just honored to have you on. So it's completely up to you how you want to tell the story.
Well, I mean, I guess I'll tell the short version, so people are like, "Oh my God, this is like an hour and a half worth of story." But yeah, I was I was living in LA. This was 2016 or 2015, 2016, and I was actually playing with another artist named Haley Steinfeld. And you may have heard of her. She's actually she's an actress and a singer, much like Selena. And
I know the name. If I hear as soon as I hear a song, I'll know who you're talking about. But that's just how my brain is. But yeah, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. But she's awesome. And I started playing with her when her career started to, she was making the transition from just being an actress to hey, I can sing and dance too. So we were doing some shows. We did a couple TV shows with her as well. Lots of fun. But with Haley, you know, she didn't have a very consistent live schedule. So, you know, sometimes she would have the band on, sometimes, you know, she would be just using tracks. You know, she just kind of went back and forth. So, you know, when you're a musician, you know, and we're not really on retainer with her, it's just kind of like if you're available, you play the gig. If you're not, you know, whatever. So, with that being said, you know, it was a little difficult to have the same guys on the gig all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just came off the road with another artist named Conrad Poole. This was early 2016. And we got this call randomly. Me and the keyboard player on Conrad, actually, we played with Haley too. Mm-hmm. And we got a call from the music director that, hey, you know, we have this date that just came in with Haley. Can you guys do it? I said, yeah, sure. Let's make it happen. So I get to rehearsal, and our regular bass player is gone. He's not on the gig because he took another job playing with Payne, who's another pop artist. Mm-hmm. So he's doing that gig. So now we have this other guy named Ben Sterling. And I don't know what it is about bass players named Ben, but they have been like, you know, just a blessing in my life, man. But Ben Sterling he came to the gig, and it's always hard, you know, when you're kind of the new guy coming into an already established, you know, sort of crew. Mm-hmm. And all that. But he came in, man, he knew all the songs. He, you know, he fit right in with our, you know, camaraderie and everything. It was really, really great. So during one of the breaks, I'm talking with Ben, and I was like, dude, why have I not heard of you, man? Like, where have you been? Like, what's going on? I'm usually kind of connected to most guys who are kind of in the pop circuit. So, you know, school me on your background. He was like, man, you know, I'm just like you, dude. I play in my local church. I play around town. I do a couple sessions. And I play with Selena Gomez as well. And he said it just like that.
Just threw it in there.
Just threw it in there. Like, it wasn't a big deal. And I was like, wait, hold up. I was like, you play for Selena Gomez? I mean, because Selena is freaking huge. Like, yeah. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Like, she's only gotten bigger since then. Like, she's massive. Mm-hmm. So I said, you play with Selena? He said, yeah, we just did we just did the Jingle Ball tour with her. And supposedly, there's supposed to be this really big, you know, spring, summer tour this year, but I don't really know. I haven't got the confirmation yet. So I was like, oh, this changes everything, man. Let's talk about this. So I was like, well, who's supposed to be playing drums on this, you know, on this spring tour? Mm-hmm. And this is all conversations we're having over the course of a few days. So I'm giving you the condensed version.
He's trying not to get too excited about it when you talk to him. I've been
right. I'm trying to keep cool and not scare this guy away. but yeah, he was like, you know what? What's interesting is the drummer who did the Jingle Ball tour with us is not available for this tour because he's on a retainer with Gavin DeGraw. Mm-hmm. And I said, interesting. So he said, so in essence, the drum chair is open. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Are you serious? And he was like, well, yeah, but however, I'm not the music director, so don't, you know, I can't make decisions and I can't put you on the gig. Mm-hmm. The music director is Fred Brown. Mm-hmm. And he needs to put you on the gig. And I said, okay, well, you know, I'm great with communication and with emails, and I can be, you know, I can turn that nice guy, you know, demeanor on, and I can charm, mm-hmm. you know, Fred Brown. And he said, well, actually, don't do that. Fred doesn't like that. Okay. He said, here's what I'll do. He was like, cause we had this gig with Haley, and we're traveling, and we went to Denver to do this show. So he said, when we get back to LA, I have a coffee scheduled with Fred to talk about kind of what's coming up with Selena. I will throw your name in the hat, and whatever happens after that is kind of whatever happens. Mm-hmm. And he said, it's just like that. And I said, okay. But he said, you would be a great fit for this gig because it's kind of the same vibe as the Haley gig. It's it's pop, but like you throw in, your chops and your licks and your flavor, when the time is right to make it interesting and make it, fun. But yeah, cool.
Jeez.
So he went, he went back to LA, or we went back to LA. He met with Fred. They did coffee. He texted me after they had coffee, and he said, "Hey, man, I just met with Fred. I threw your name in the hat, and I gave him your email address. You should be hearing from him soon." That was it. Like, Ben was very much like, I'm not going to be responsible for any false hope.
Yeah. That can easily happen.
He protected himself at all costs. He was like, "Man, I'm not saying anything. I just said you were dope and that you'd be great." It's really on him now.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he did. And I got an email a couple days later from Fred. And it said, "Hey, man, I got your email from Ben. We're having auditions for the Selena drum chair. If you're interested, let me know." So, of course, that was an immediate yes for me. As soon as I got the email, I was like, "Yeah, dude, count me in." And what he did was he said, "Okay, cool. I'll be in touch with instructions and what we're going to do." So he ended up sending a song, and the song he sent was her current, like, really hot single at the time was the song called "Same Old Love." And he sent like a small piece of it, or like the back half of it, really. And he said, "Here's the instructions. What I want you to do is treat this first chorus," because it was only like the back half of it. He was like, "I want you to treat this chorus that you hear first, treat that as a verse, right? We get to the bridge, treat that as a solo section. And then when we get to the last chorus, or the last double chorus, you treat that as a big last chorus." And I was like, this is like the slickest thing ever. He's about to check out everything in the span of like 2 minutes. He's looking at your dynamics, looking at your creativity. He's gonna listen to how you can lead in and lead out of sections. Like, it was very brilliant, because in most auditions that I've been through prior to that, they give you like 4 songs to learn, and you have to memorize. And you have to, and that can be a little intimidating. So this was just a quick, 2-minute thing. So I said, "Cool, man, sounds good." And he sent more instructions about how to show up to the audition, the location, and the time and all that good stuff. So I'll show up to the audition. It is, and I'm expecting, like, for an artist of this size, I'm expecting 75, 80 drummers just lined up, ready to do their audition.
Yeah, I can imagine that.
Bro, I showed up to this audition. There were 4 of us. Just 4.
Oh, wow, that must have been tense, even more tense in a weird way.
Just 4. Like, when I say they wanted to keep this thing under, like, serious wraps, it was literally like, if Fred doesn't know you and doesn't trust whoever recommended you, you weren't getting a call for this gig. Like, this was a big, big, like, secret. So, but yeah, we all went there, and all of us had different styles and different approaches. And I think that's what they were kind of looking to see, who kind of fits in the most with, what they're trying to do for this tour. And I went in there and did the same thing I did with the David audition, man. I just, I had a really great time. I had a routine that I had set, because I always like to do that with auditions. I don't like to, I don't like to fly by the seat of my pants. I like to have something set so they can see that I've rehearsed this, and it's, I can memorize material and all that good stuff. So, but I did my audition. They had a full backline kit there. All I had to bring was sticks and a snare, really. And after the audition, Fred shook my hand. He said, "Bro, you sound great. We should have some news within the next," well, he said by the end of the week, into the weekend.
Yeah, that's got to be the worst.
Oh, dude. Now, you don't even know how bad it was. Like, because this was on a Tuesday, right? Like, this audition was on a Tuesday. He's like, "I should know something by the end of the week." So, of course, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday gets here. And I'm like, okay, cool. Maybe I'll hear something today. Didn't hear nothing. Not a word. Saturday, nothing. Sunday, Nothing. So by Sunday, dude, I'm like, I didn't get it. Like he hasn't said anything, and I think and then Monday comes, and Monday still didn't hear anything like all day, and I'm like, oh my god, did I really not get this gig? Are you serious? So I was so stressed out and so like I was bugging so much. I actually emailed Fred. I had his email address because he emailed me the audition stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I emailed him and I said, "Hey man, just wanted to reach out in case you tried to get in contact with me, and I missed it." Oh man, I wanted that gig so bad. I was so ready for it. And he didn't respond. So I'm like, okay. So Tuesday comes, and by Tuesday, I'm already like, okay, I didn't get it. I'll move on to the next situation.
Mm-hmm.
And it was literally like a week later, a full week, because Tuesday, the very next Tuesday at like 2:00, which was when my audition was the previous Tuesday, I get an email from Fred. And you know how you get an email on your phone and it pops up and it's just the subject. You don't really see the body.
Yeah.
So like the email said, but the subject says Selena Gomez, and I saw that it was from Fred, and I was like, okay, stop everything. Let's just wait. And I literally prayed.
I'm sorry to laugh so much. It's a cool story. So that's why I'm laughing so much.
Oh, it's good. It's cool, man. One of these days, I'll tell you the long version. It's crazy. But I literally prayed, and I was like, okay, this can really go one of two ways. Because I've gotten emails before from auditions with the artist's name, and it says, if you're reading this email, it's a no. So I was like, this could be one of those, or it can be, something else. I was like, God, if this is in your will for me, let it be so. So I slowly opened up, as slow as you can open up an email on a smartphone.
Yeah,
that's how slow I opened up email.
I just understand that feeling. I'm not on that level, but I just understand.
Dude, I'm like, because any sudden movement can mess up the email. I'm not trying to mess it up, so I was trying to open it up slow, man. So I open it up, and I still have this email. It's still in my inbox to this day. Email, subject says Selena Gomez. In the body, it says, hey, bro, comma, congrats, you got the gig.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like, oh, my God. And then it said, if you're still interested, if you still want it, just hit me and let me know. So, man, I ran. My wife was actually in the bathroom, and I ran in there, and I was like, I got the gig. She's like, no way, are you serious? I said, I got it. So I responded to Fred. I said, man, of course, I still wanted to play the gig. I'm so happy, ecstatic.
Mm-hmm.
Let me know what the next steps are. And the next day, dude, my life completely changed.
Really? Did you just go hammer it down every song? Just jump in all the way there at that point?
Well, I didn't have material just yet, but because that gig was so massive,
mm-hmm.
like the very next day, my email was just like flooded with emails from her business manager, her lawyer, her the label, like with non-disclosure agreements, and what's the other one? Permission to use your likeness and image, and like all this stuff. And I was like, yo, this is really happening. This is the thing.
It feels like a movie at that point.
Yeah, it's like, hello, Mr. Robinson, please to have you on board. Please sign this. Please sign your direct deposit information. Please, return. I'm like, this is a dream. This is not happening. This is crazy.
Jeez.
And yeah, dude, and it was just a lot of just talking with our people from there. And then the next day, I got a phone call from Benji Worley, who's like drum tech legend. Mm-hmm. He calls me and he says, hey, dude, my name is Benji. I'm going to be your drum tech for the Selena run.
Oh,
and
wow.
I was like, what? I'm like, this is a dream. Like, somebody's punking me right now. This is not happening.
Uh-huh.
I was like, I have a drum tech. He's like, yes, sir. He's like, I'll be your tech, so you don't have to worry about anything. And I'm in my mind as he's talking. Of course, I'm picturing myself over the years of just schlepping my gear all over town. You know, getting bruises on my arms.
Double checking wing nuts every 2 seconds.
Yeah, dude. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you understand?
Yeah. I know that all too well.
Oh man, the hustle was real. So, yeah, but yeah, he was like, man, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna be your tech. I'm gonna take care of you. I just want to, know, what drums you want to play on and what, where your head is. And he's the one. Well, he's one of two people who said, you should get with Maytex.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's when the Maytex thing started.
Nice. That
was the gig.
And then, did you go with the big kit right away, or did you keep it with your standard? Like, I think you would play about a 6-piece right now.
Yeah, it's the same size kit I'm playing now. I had a few more cymbals on the Selena run, but as far as the drums, 10, 12. 14, 16. I had a couple 14 snares. One was tuned high. The other was tuned low. And I had no triggers on that kit except for an SPD.
Oh,
SPDS.
Wow. Oh, nice. That's not bad at all.
No, I was actually ready for like the whole hey man, we need you to be playing the KT10 pedal and just like I was ready because I had done that on other gigs. And Fred was like, no, it's going to be we want a live feel. But for a lot of the signature things like snaps and whatever, we'll have you on an SPD.
Well, I don't want to keep you too long here, and I could have had you on for about 3 or 4 hours, but I really want to push your YouTube channel. What's the best place to reach out to you on YouTube or social media? Yeah,
so on YouTube, if you just go to YouTube and just type in, Steven Maestro Robison or even Maestro Robinson, my channel will pop up. You'll see my videos. Can't miss them. A black dude with dreads playing drums. Can't miss it.
No, you won't. As soon as you hear your sound, you know it's you. So definitely no.
Yeah. And there's new content on the way. As a matter of fact, before we got on this call, I'm editing right now a whole new. I did a 6-minute medley of like early 2000s. R&B and hip hop songs. And I kind of meshed them all together in an arrangement.
Oh, nice.
Super cool stuff. Like, don't want to miss it. So that's going to be uploaded probably sometime this week.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. And I said, it's just a pleasure to watch your channel. I got introduced to you through Billy pretty much. And yeah, I really appreciate you coming on. Like I said, I would like to do this again with you. I have a million questions for you, but obviously we both have something going on tonight, so I don't want to keep you too long. You know what I mean? So
hey,
yeah.
I'll come back. I'll come back anytime, and maybe next time I can give the whole pre-story to the Selena gig and how how life is just everything is just ordered. Steps are ordered by God, man, and it's it was amazing to kind of see that process, and it took like 2 years for me to really understand what was really happening. Preparing me for such a gig. So I would love to share that next time.
Yeah, I definitely want to hear that, and we'll make plans for it. But if you guys enjoyed this episode, please share with your friends. So we're on the obvious YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. And once again, thanks a lot, Steven.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.